I hate videos. Now, you may be wondering, if I hate videos, what the heck am I doing here? Hello. Welcome to an episode, a special episode of Inspiration from Ingor. All my episodes are special, but this one is extra special because I get to feature a friend of mine. And I've really been trying to think when I can feature him because he is on a different side of the world to me, 3 hours behind. And when I do go live, it's so extra early. So here we are. And today is February 3rd. I am actually on vacation. So you are just seeing me here, but I'm not actually live. I'm on vacation in South Africa, spending a bit of time with my family and friends. But I wanted to bring you this extra special episode and highlight my very special friend. If you and I haven't met yet, my name is Ingor van Roy, and I am known as a connection catalyst. I help entrepreneurs and manufacturers develop a strategy so that they can stand out and connect with their ideal community. I do this by showing them what Ubuntu really means. And if you watched my intro video, you will have seen that word. And what Ubuntu actually means is I am because we are. And in teaching my clients, I help them see that the only way to build community is through my 3 C's, which are connect, communicate, and collaborate. Before we continue, I'd love to give a special shout out to our awesome friends at Kindness Inspired. Thank you for making this world a better place by spreading kindness everywhere and helping inspire others to acknowledge those who do. Thank you also to our wonderful friends at Island Spices, a local restaurant in Toronto, who have been my avid supporters since day one. Thank you to you. And if you are in Toronto and would like to try out some amazing island food, reach out to me and I can connect you with them. Without further ado, I'd love to bring on my special friend. Hello to you, Ira.
Hello. I kept waiting, like, does she have 2 people on the show? There's somebody, surely there's somebody else other than just plain old Ira, but no. I so appreciate you, Ingor. I'm glad to be here.
I'm so happy to have you, and there's no such thing as plain old Ira. You've had a special place in my heart since the day that I met you. Just who you are and the way that you help others it just warms my heart, really.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I don't help people for accolades, but I do appreciate when people notice, at least. That's cool.
And that's why we notice, because you don't do it for accolades. So, Aaron, won't you please introduce yourself and tell everyone who you are and what you do?
Sure. I am Ira Bowman, for those of you who don't know me. And what do I do? That's interesting. I'm an entrepreneur as well. I have my feet in a few different fires, but I run a company, Bowman Digital Media. There, it's on my name. What we do is we help increase the visibility for our clients online, so we can manage their social media and or their search engine optimization, so that they can focus on the things that they're good at. That's why people hire us. Beyond that, I'm a father. I have 8 children, married to my wife for going on 23 years now. And so we have a large family. I run a nonprofit called Project Help You Grow, which I'm very proud of the work we do there. I'm a professional photographer. I'm a graphic designer. I'm a credentialed member of the press now, which is relatively new. And I'm a recent author of books. So I've got a few different things in the fire. But all in all, I'm Ira from Southern California. I live just outside of Los Angeles.
I love it. One thing that you forgot to mention is your TED Talk.
Oh, yeah. TED Talk. In fact, I've got a second TED Talk scheduled. I'll be talking in April on search engine optimization. I did the first one on how to utilize LinkedIn to make 6 figures. And this one I'm going to be talking about search engine optimization because I don't know if you know this, 60% of all website traffic is generated from people searching on Google, and not the paid ads, just the what they call the organic search, the SERP. That's where 60% of all website traffic comes from. So I'm trying to help people understand how important SEO is. 7 billion searches happen on every single day on Google. That's almost twice as much as people use social media for the whole month.
Wow.
So when you look at the power of social media and the power of search engines,
Jeez.
if you only focused on one, you really should focus on search engine optimization because there's a lot more traffic to be garnered. It's exponential because you go, okay, there's more traffic, almost twice as much traffic in one day on Google as there is on social media for the whole month. But then you multiply that out by the 30 days per month, and then, there's 12 months. And so you look at the rate. If it was a tortoise and a hare, they would be 100 to 200 times down the road in a year just by focusing on SEO instead of only social media.
Wow.
That's the kind of nerdy. Wow. That's the nerdy stuff that we do, right?
But I love it because the thing is, it helps us to understand, right? Yeah. That's not my niche, and you know that. But like, at least now I understand a bit more. Like, that is insane. The numbers that you just quoted, like, whoa.
Well, 60%. Let me help you out a little bit more if you guys like math. Okay, so everybody says you want to be on the first page. Let me tell you why. Because 75% of people who go to Google will not ever look at anything but the first page. They'll never go to page 2. So, it's really hard sometimes to get on the first page. If you have a short 1 or 2 word expression, like say you put in shoes or you put in administrative, maybe you're not going to come up. That'd be really hard. But when you start looking at most of these searches on Google, they're 3 words or more. We call those long tail keywords. Okay. So the long tail keyword search, Google calls it a query or a query, depending on where you're from. Right. So the question that you're asking in the bar, and then you hit return or search, and then it goes, right. 75% of those 81,000 people every second will never get past page 1. And 32% of people will just click on the first result. They won't even go to position 2. So your SERP, which is an acronym, it stands for Search Engine Results Position. Your SERP is so important because you're trying to get organic traffic, people who trust Google to recommend the best result. And that's one of the things that we do at Bowman Digital Media is we help people improve their SERP positions.
Wow. So just to put it into more context for you, whoever's watching, think about how many people there are in the world. And many of us, I'm just getting mine. Many of us have a little device like this, right? But what we don't realize is this is not just a cell phone, guys. This is a mini computer. This is a mini computer. How many times do we reach out to our little mini computers or even on our laptops or desktops, whatever, and Google something? And now think about it. Think that there are so many other people in this world that do that as well. So that's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, here's the thing, too. It's funny because a lot of people ignore SEO because they don't understand it. And I trust me, it's really complicated. There's a lot of moving parts, and it's not static. So dynamically, it changes all the time. But here's the thing. Most people who are on the first page, especially if you're in a niche industry, you're talking about like $500 to $1,000 a month investment to go from obscurity to first page. It doesn't take a lot. You just have to spend more than your competitor. You have to spend more, or you have to be more competent, one or the other, right? To beat them. You actually, if you know who your competitors are, and Google will tell you who they think they are if you ask them, you can research what they're doing. And so it isn't necessarily rocket science. It's definitely science. There's definitely a lot of math and strategy that goes into it, specifically the more competitors you have. But you don't want to die on the vine. You just don't. And you can generate so much more business with just a little bit of investment. If you're talking about, let's say $1,000 a month, that's $12,000 a year. But if you were able to go from page 5 or 6 or who knows where, and it doesn't matter, because if you're on page 5 or page 100, it's the same thing. Nobody's getting to page 5. I mean, statistically, right? Mm-hmm. So if you can go from obscurity to SERP page 1 position, there's always 10 spots. I know this messes some people up, but there's 10 spots per page on Google for organic results. So if you can get in one of the top 10 spots, you're going to get so much more of the traffic. Now you've got to keep them there, obviously, once you get them to your page. So you've got to educate people, entertain people, have clear call to actions, all that stuff. So I'm not saying you can just have a crappy website, but the fact is, if you spend a little bit of money with somebody like me who can work on your SEO and help balance out your content on your site from a marketing perspective, now you've got something that really can make a huge impact in your sales funnel.
Love it.
60% of consumers will go to a website before they make a purchasing decision. So if they're coming to your website, the odds are they're there to do their homework, because that is the new world.
Yes.
Yeah, people aren't talking to sales reps first.
Nope.
I loved it 20 years ago. I was a sales rep, right? I used to have to educate my clients. At the end, before I stopped doing sales, it started to become people would talk to me and go, hey, I know I want X model and I want this, that, and the other features added, and I don't want this, and I want to lease it or I want to buy it outright. What's my monthly payment going to be, or what's my purchase price going to be? And it took a lot of the fun of that away from me, because I liked educating people. You might have gathered that from this answer I just gave. But I do like educating people, right? Knowledge is power.
Yes, it is.
So for sales, part of the fun for me was helping people make the decision. So I just picked something a little bit more complicated. They need help still.
Wow. Thank you, Ira.
All that from a TED Talk. Yeah, my TED Talk is coming in April.
That's cool. I keep us apprised of what's happening and when it's happening. I just love to follow along and see and support what you're doing. Every so often when I do come across a post from you, whether it's on Facebook or LinkedIn, I'm always amazed at what you've done to grow yourself forward.
It's been a process for sure. It has definitely been a process.
Yes, I can so appreciate that, because honestly, I was stuck in a rut in the corporate world for almost 20 years, where I got up, got dressed, went to work, came home, did what I needed to do here, went to bed, and did it all over again the next day.
Yeah, step and repeat.
Yes, and I can tell you, yes, like there were things that I did accomplish, but it was so much fewer and far between. Right? Compared to now, where I keep pushing myself outside of my comfort zone.
I think there's two things I want to say to that. First of all, I had a similar experience and it was kind of boring, right? It's not fulfilling. It doesn't feel fulfilling, right? But the other part is, everybody has heard this before. I'm going to say something and people are going to be like, oh man, he just laid it out there like that. So simple. It's a truism. You don't grow in your comfort zone. So if you're comfortable year after year, and you're just surviving, you're not growing. And that in itself makes people not happy. Like, what has been exhilarating for me over the last 3 years, and really 5 years, we can go back to 2018. That's really where the change happened. And I know you want to talk a little bit about that, this whole thing. So we'll get into it. But what has been exciting over the last 5 years is I feel like I'm still learning who Ira can become.
Yes.
I didn't, I'm in my mid 40s now. My life isn't over. It's like the chapters in the book, there's some blank pages, and let's see how far I can take this thing. That's one of the things that I'm fired up about it. I was just having a conversation with my wife earlier today about some of the things I want to do and some of the people that I'm meeting and getting to mentor with who are further down the road than me. And I'm excited about what I'm going to learn.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And I want to highlight a quote by Steve D. Sims. And this was shared with me a while back by a friend of mine. His name is Robert Johnson. But it says, if you're not growing, you're dying. Mm-hmm. And 100%. Like you said, growth does not happen inside the comfort zone.
Everybody knows that, right? Yeah. If you're comfortable, but the thing they don't think about though is it's not comfortable when you're outside the comfort zone. Oh. So you have to have either an aversion to risk, and you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable, right? Yeah. So I'm not saying just go out and be crazy, throw all caution to the wind. What you should learn to do is, first of all, let me just start with what people should do. Like, I like to reverse engineer everything. Remember when you were a kid, and you have kids, so you don't even have to remember back as far because your kids have done it. You're going to a restaurant. For me, it was Denny's when I was a kid, right? A little diner or whatever. And they would give you a placemat menu, and on it, almost assuredly, was this little rectangle box with a bunch of lines, and there was, the ends, but it was a maze, and you had to work your way through the maze. Well, I used to be really good at those. And the reason why I was so good at them, I start at the finish and work my way back to the start. If you start at the start and try to go forward, you don't know which way you got to go. But if you can figure out where you want to go, then finding the road or the path, if you will, to travel from where you are to where you want to be gets a lot easier. Yeah. So if you can set out and go, you know what? I'm like Ira. I love photography. So I want to become a professional photographer. Well, once you know what you want to do, again, figuring out what classes you might need to take, what gear you might need to buy, what training you might need, any software, computer, whatever, maybe some mentorship program or whatever you need becomes a little bit easier. Now, what I learned, so I mentioned in the opening when you were asking me about who I am, I mentioned I run a nonprofit called Project Help You Grow. So Project Help You Grow, what we do is we help job seekers connect with employers or recruiters from around the world, everywhere. It's all free, but we're like the bridge. We help connect them. That's all we do. Okay. That's all. It's not, we're not hiring people, we're helping. And one of the things that we do is we give them tools to help train them, like how to write a resume, how to prepare for an interview. We teach them about things like fractional work, which is basically how I employ myself. Okay. So we teach them about these things. One of the things that I wrote in there, it's called an informational interview. I wrote about this as a blog topic. And an informational interview is something, if your watchers are, looking for, how do I become XYZ? How do I become that? Well, one of the things I suggest is find somebody who's already doing it or done it. Maybe they're the next step up. And ask them like, hey, can I pick your brain? And it's like almost a job interview, but they're not hiring you, right? You're just, fielding questions to them saying, hey, here's where I am. Here's where you are. What would you recommend? And what do I need to know? And, advice you would give me and those types of things. And so what I would say is, like, let's say you wanted to become a photographer. Well, find somebody like me who is a photographer and ask us. And we'll be glad. Most of the time, we'll be glad to share. We might not share everything with you, but usually if you approach somebody with that type of humility, it's nothing in it for them cost wise, but some time. And what I suggest, if you really want to do it right, is take them to dinner or lunch or something, treat them to something, because that's their reward really for helping you out. Now, I know in this COVID world and post-COVID world, it's a little bit harder to get people to agree to that. But, hopefully one day we'll be back to normal and y'all can get together for a meal whenever you'd like. But that's the kind of thing. I call it an informational interview, but it will help you figure out what course you need to go so you get there faster, less headaches. I'll tell you what can happen through it. Not only can you get the information, which is all you're really expecting to be able to ask them to give you answers, but if you can win them over as a friend, a lot of times what will happen is they will actually take you under their wing then, and they'll introduce you to other people that you wouldn't necessarily know. And they might even give you some referrals to folks like, hey, Ingor, I have a friend who's looking to be an administrative assistant. Just wanted to introduce you. That could turn into a job for them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's all kinds of things that can happen from the informational interview, but it is a way where you can get from where you are to where you want to be a little bit faster with a little, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can utilize some other people's tracks a little bit that way.
Can you tell me, please spell out the website for it. Is it Does Project Help You Grow?
Oh yeah. Yeah, if you're watching this and you just type in Project Help You Grow in Google, it'll come up. I'm pretty good at the SEO thing. It'll be the first thing you see. Yeah. Yep. But if you put in Project Help You Grow with spaces or without spaces or with the .com or without the .com, it'll come up. But it's Project Help You Grow. It started in 2018. It's part of the genesis of my ascension on social media. Was when people started to pay attention to who Ira Bowman was for some reason. But anyways, I started this philanthropy with the idea in 2018 that it was going to be a growth incubator for people on LinkedIn. That was the idea that I started Project Help You Grow with. But as people were joining me on LinkedIn, I found out very quickly that people were more interested in getting a job. So we kind of pivoted because that was the request that most people were making. Over 50% of the people joining were like, hey, I love growing on LinkedIn. Thank you. This is amazing. And it was free. So they liked that too. But, there were so many people asking for help that I took it off of LinkedIn. It was started as a group on LinkedIn. And in September of 2018 is when we launched the website, Project Help You Grow. It's been around since 2018.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for doing that.
It's my pleasure. It's absolutely 100% free for everybody. There's not a single ad on it. You don't have to join anything to use it. The only people that have to sign up for an account are any businesses that want to post their jobs. There's some legalese that I have to, get you to sign off to not identify me, or however I'm supposed to say that. I'm not a lawyer, but it kind of gets me off the hook because I'm not selling anything, so it's just public information. And then if a job seeker wants to, I actually don't recommend that you do this, but if you want to, and you want to put your resume on there, you can build a profile and put your resume up. I don't like that because of the ATS. But, if people want to have a resume out there and hope that somebody sees it and falls in love with them, by all means, you can. You would have to create an account for that. But to view the jobs, to read the blog, to watch the videos, you don't need an account for anything. And there's no place you cannot even make a donation if you want to. There's no place to do it. So, and I will never email you either. I don't have the time or the inclination to email you for anything, and I will never sell your data to third parties. I don't think that's ethical, so I don't do that.
Awesome. Thank you, Ira.
It's my pleasure.
Okay, let's jump in. I have some questions for you.
She's like, I'm going to hit you with something, brother. I'm like, do it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So my first question is, what inspires you?
There's a lot of things that inspire me, honestly. My daughter's recovery inspires me because she fought like crazy to get better. My wife inspires me because, people look at me and they think I'm so talented, all these things, because I'm more visible in the spotlight. My wife is 3 times the human being I am. I'm going to tell you what, she inspires me all the time. to be a better husband and father. I'm working really hard at that. That inspires me. To provide for my family has always been something that has motivated me. Professionally, what inspires me, gosh, it's a little bit hard. I mean, I don't feel like I'm in a competition with anybody. Like that's not, that's not what moves that doesn't move me. I want to give the people who put their trust in me, I want to give them the absolute best results possible. So my inspiration comes more like internal things than external. I'm not motivated by money as much. I'll tell you one thing that I really do want to do, and Project Help You Grow is helping me do that in a sense. I want to make a positive global impact, and it's hard to do that. So I do want to increase my wealth in the sense, not wealth for wealth's sake, but I do want to. There are people suffering out there that I would love to create apparatuses like Project Help You Grow and other things, that can help people who are suffering. One of my personal, one of the things that touches me, right, is child abuse of all kinds, but specifically sexual child abuse. I'm a victim of that myself. So poverty, homelessness, sexual abuse, just abuse in general, like those are things that I want to help with. So becoming more successful so that I can help shine the light, as we were talking about, right? I can get the gospel out there. I can get people the help that they need with their physical needs, their mental needs. Those are the things that inspire me.
I love that. One of my favorite quotes of all time is this one. It's by Kevin Cruz, and it says, "Life is about making an impact."
I know this, and it's a mantra of mine. Yeah. It is, the impact is what I'm most interested in, right? Yes. I don't necessarily care if people know who Ira Bowman is. When I die, I'm not vain enough to think that people are really going to give a crap. I just hope that while I'm here, I'm pointing people to Jesus, because that's my personal belief, and yes. And they are they're positively impacted as much as possible by my existence. That's what I'm trying to do.
I love it. You did mention your daughter.
Yeah.
Would you like to just share a little bit about what happened?
How much time do you want to spend on that?
Will.
It's a medical mystery. It was like watching an episode of House without the happy ending for a long time. So for a year, she came down. She was normal. She was 13 years old. A twin came down one night with a really bad stomach ache. We said, take some Tums and go back to bed. You're going to be fine, right? No one ever died from a tummy ache. That was kind of the joke. But as it turns out, tummy ache can be really, really serious. And that is what ended up happening. She ended up basically on the verge of death. She lost her ability to see, to speak, to hear, to walk, to move her body in any way. She was like, she lost her memory, short-term and long-term. So there was a lot of things that happened. Now, there was some recovery process and some deterioration process throughout this, but through the course of an 18-month period, she had been in the hospital, admitted 6 times to 3 different hospitals. She was seen by somewhere around 40 different doctors, some of the best specialists in Southern California for GI stuff, for neuro stuff, for psych stuff. She ended up, after about a year, being seen by somebody who, okay, so for the first year, all those people, nobody could really identify what was wrong. That's where the House thing comes in, right? Dr. House, you guys don't know what I'm talking about. Medical history show, rheumatologist on TV, super, super cool show. So, he's the guy who diagnosed the undiagnosable, right? We were looking for our real life Dr. House. We found one at UCLA, and we thought, this is it, baby. He's gonna know what this is. Turns out Dr. House in real life wasn't able to figure it out, but somebody else was. So we ended up at a neurologist in Southern California who was able to tell us what it was. And the best news was, he's like, she's going to be better in 3 months. Like, you're not going to recognize her better. At the time, we're crying happy tears, but we're also trying to like, okay, might not actually be it. You know what I mean? Like trying to brace yourself in case it doesn't work. But something in me, like, I'm a man of faith. So something in me told me like, this is going to work. So she did something called R. It's a little R, and then capital TMS, which is repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation. Okay. So that's what it is. Transcranial magnetic stimulation. She did 40 treatments. She's got 2 more to go. She's done 38 of them now. After the 10th treatment, it was like a genie in the bottle went boop, and her brain turned back on. She went from being wheelchair bound. She couldn't push herself. She wasn't strong enough to push herself in the wheelchair at this point. She had lost at one point her ability to move, but she had regained her arm use, but she was weak. She was not able to like grip very well. She wasn't able to hold the wheel to push. And even if she wasn't strong enough to push. This was like 4 months ago. Okay. 3 months ago, like I said, after the 10th session. Now, there was a few other things we were doing, just to be fair. She's on a treatment, mold protocol, because we ended up having mold in our house, and a few other things. But we also bought a barometric chamber. I'm not saying that right, but
yes.
Yeah. So we've got a pressure chamber in our house. So she ended up doing those treatments twice a day too. So she was doing that, the TMS and the medicine, plus OT and PT and psych and all this stuff. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, this whole thing. But between the 10th and the 11th, she rolled in a wheelchair, couldn't walk, could barely. I think she was still having trouble eating at that point too. Anyways, she walked into the 11th treatment. No wheelchair. Walked in on her own power. It's just like her memory started coming back. Her strength came back. She could start to eat again. She wasn't able to read. In fact, she had lost her short-term and long-term memory to the point where she didn't even remember having siblings. She has never been an only child. We have 8 kids. She's number 4 of 8. Okay. Yeah. She's never at any point in her life been an only child, but she didn't remember having siblings. She lost her ability to read. She couldn't write. She could hardly. This is a girl who actually can wield this camera right here better than most people. She comes and does photography assistant work with me. She had been doing that for about a year, maybe a year and a half before she got sick. Well, she's always been artistically talented, and she had lost all that with this. I mean, she lost everything. She lost her identity. She forgot her own name. She had renamed herself, and I'm not kidding. She renamed herself Green Bean Filowski III. Okay, so some serious problems. I mean, that, like I said, there was a point where we thought she was going to die. I thought she was going to die. I left. It was during COVID what happened, and actually was really mad about this at the time, but we both took her to the emergency room because her pulse ox was in the 60s, and we thought she was going to die. She couldn't hold her head up. She's in a wheelchair, and we didn't have a fancy wheelchair at the time. We had one of those, like, wheelchair, somebody's not really injured, but they can't walk. So, here's an emergency chair. We had one of those. But there was no neck thing, no head rest.
Yeah.
No support. So I'm there at the hospital for 4 hours waiting to get my daughter in to be seen, and I'm holding her neck up the whole time. And they're telling me, you got to go. You can't be here because you're only allowed one parent because of the COVID stuff. And I was like, dude, I get it. People come in here all the time. Their kid's vomiting or has a headache or whatever, broken arm. I mean, it's not life or death stuff. I get it. So, but I said, this might be the last time I ever see my daughter. She might die before I even make it home. I was trying to plead to their good, to their heart, right, to make an exception, but they wouldn't. it is what it is. So I left the hospital that night thinking that my wife was going to call me on the way home because we took one car, right? So I was going to have to go pick her back up. I fully expected my wife to call me and let me know that our daughter had passed. In fact, I called my mother on the way as I was driving home that night and said, you better prepare for this because this is likely what's going to happen. So that's where I thought she was at. Anyways, that was back in October last year. So we've come a long way since then. She is almost fully recovered. She is in the 9th grade. Her goal is to re-enter student population with her twin sister in the 10th grade in the fall, and she's on track now to do that. It's amazing. She missed a whole year of school. She's made it up in the last 4 months. She's now at grade level. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
They're expecting a 100% recovery. So sorry to put you all through that, but that's 18 months of our life. I mean, really huge thing. I didn't touch on the mold, but it did wind up like if people are saying what happened, right? Well, there was actually 3 things that happened. Okay. So it wasn't just one thing, but she had a genetic disposition to this happening. 2, she had a weakened immune system. She is allergic to a lot of things, her immune system, because we believe she's a twin, because this didn't happen to the other twin. Everything else is the same. They live in the same spot. They eat the same food. They wear the same clothes. They, all those things that environmental factors are the same is what I'm trying to say. It didn't happen to her. So that was always part of the mystery. Like, okay, what's going on here? The 3rd thing was the mold. The mold was the thing that broke the camel's back. We had some mold in our house that we did not know about because it was subsurface level and it was in the air and she was breathing it in. We all were. We're all on mold mold protocol. That's what it's called. Yeah. Anyways. So there you go. If you're curious what happened, that's what happened.
I just have to respond to what you said. You said, she almost died. And I have to say this, but God.
But God, 100%. Anybody who hears all that story who doesn't understand, at any point, now this again is one of the reasons why my wife inspires me, okay? I am not the kind of person typically that goes to a doctor and hears what they have to say and says you're wrong. I just take it because they're the expert. My wife, and again, thank God for this. My wife didn't take those answers because we were sent home after 3.5 weeks with the diagnosis that my daughter basically something called cognitive regression. And this was all just a mental issue. No mold. And if we had never pushed harder and found out about the mold, then my daughter would be dead right now. And who knows how many else of us would be on our way to dying. We were all inhaling this mold. We were all living here.
Yeah. Wow.
So if my wife had not done what she had done, because I wouldn't have. I didn't. In fact, my wife and I argued at times about some of this because it was starting to add up. It was like we were chasing a ghost. Because again, when you get seen by 40 different doctors and they all tell you there's nothing else wrong with her, it's just this cognitive regression. You start to wonder if your wife is, off her rocker a little bit. But if she hadn't, my daughter would not be here. And who knows, like I said, who knows how many else of us would have, whether we died or not, been very, very sick. You can't live with black mold in your house, guys.
No.
So she had mycotoxins in her bloodstream. Nobody checked it until the 41st doctor.
Wow.
There you go.
Well, Ira, I'm really glad that Lizzie is okay.
Yeah, the best present I could ever get. Look, I'm just going to be honest with everybody, right? I mean, I know social media influencers are always telling you how awesome their life is and wonderful and all that stuff. It broke us. My Kia, I have a 2013 Kia. Actually, as of right now, I don't because I sold it in between the time we taped it and the time that this is on air. It got sold. I found somebody to buy it. They just haven't picked it up yet. But the car died. I couldn't afford to fix the car. because of all the money that we spent. We spent way over $100,000. In fact, there was a 90-day period where we racked up $110,000 over just 90 days. In fact, it didn't even take 90 days. But it took every bit of money that I've made. You talk about, but God, like, why did God give me Bowman Digital Media and have me be successful the way that we were? Well, it was to prepare me to be able to go through some of this financially. But it took everything. It took everything. Like, we don't have. So my wife and I weren't able to buy ourselves Christmas presents this year. We were able to buy all the kids' presents, right? Nobody has to send me anything. I'm not asking for money. Okay. I'm just saying we were at that point where it's like, it's tight. So my wife and I are like, you know what? We were able to, because of the mold, we had remediation, which is expensive. Hello, the $110,000 in 90 days, right? So we had remediation that came in. They took out all the mold, but they also took the sink and the cabinets and the countertops and walls and floors. And I mean, they gutted this house. So we have to rebuild it. And my wife actually has been doing most of the work. She's amazing. If I haven't made that clear already. Anyhow, I looked at the cabinets and I said, look, you've already given me a present. There they are, and beautiful floor and all of this stuff. And so we just agreed that, we weren't going to do Christmas presents for ourselves this year. So, but that is what we said, was like, our present, we've already got it. If you would have told me 6 months ago that my daughter on Christmas Day is going to be alert, she's going to have all her memories back, she's going to be out of a wheelchair, she's going to be able to eat whatever she wants, she's going to be back to normal. First of all, I would have called you nuts, right? I actually would have said that's cruel for you to talk like that, because it was not in anybody's. Nobody was even thinking like that. You know what I mean? So to have that come true from June being in that place to December, it's a reality. The best present of my life.
Amen. Yeah. Amen. Tell me, just quickly, how old is Lizzie?
Well, she's 14 now. She turned 14. She, like I said, she's a twin, so their birthday's in May, so they're 14 now. But she told me on December 26th of 2021 that I didn't love her because I bought everybody else Christmas presents but her in 2021. That's not true. But her memory was resetting every day. If you've seen the movie 50 First Dates, it was kind of like that. She didn't have short-term or long-term memory, but she didn't remember getting any presents on Christmas of 21. Wow. So again, for this, the difference, I mean, you have already said it, but God. And it's all to his glory. All to his glory. Because if it was up to me, I would have settled for the diagnosis from Loma Linda Children's Hospital. I mean, they're one of the premier service provider in Southern California. It's not like, they're some scrub place. It's a very highly respected authority for children's services. They told us unequivocally what she had. They had done every test they could think of, brain scans. They did the ink stuff through her body, MRI, X-rays. I mean, all this stuff, a lot of it I had never heard of, and so my wife is amazing, but, I believe that she was filled with the Holy Spirit, and it all had a reason. But man, if it wasn't for God, and, thank God for my wife, man, I don't know that I'd be sitting here talking about all this. Yeah. I don't think I would be.
And I will say that I have a 14-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
And my husband.
On another one, I'll give you the other twin.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just kidding.
And I will say, like, my husband and I, when I would reach out to you sometimes, but I've seen also that you would say, I'm getting so many messages.
Yeah. Yeah. It got pretty bad for a while. I had to stop addressing them individually because it was painful for me too. That's the thing I don't think people really understood. It's like, okay, every time I have to go back and explain it, I'm really, I'm in this traumatic situation.
Yeah. But every time I saw a post, my husband, I would read it to him, and him and I, we were praying with you.
Yeah. No, I appreciate
because
it.
we felt that. We felt that, like,
Let me say this. This is what I want to say. First of all, God never in the Bible promises anywhere that, being a follower of God, you're going to live some prosperity lifestyle, right? It isn't like that. Jesus suffered, you're going to suffer. The definition of Christian is to be Christ-like. So, I mean, he suffered his cross, he carried it daily. That's what we're called to do. But sometimes people ask a question like this. They'll go, if God is real, then how come, bad things happen to good people? How can a world blah, 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 right? Well, let me tell you about this. This is the worst experience I've ever gone through in my life. It's not even close. And I've been homeless. I've been abused sexually. I've been abused physically. I've had some bad stuff, right? I'm not trying to compete with people for bad, but this was pretty darn bad, okay? It was super, super expensive. It was highly emotional, and it lasted over 18 months. The journey's not even done yet. She's not done. But this is what I want to say. First of all, because it happened to me and I have the visibility or the following that I do, right? There were people praying for my daughter around the world, thousands of people. I've had a post, one of the posts I put up of Lizzie went over 1 million views. Okay. The opportunity there was to show people my faith.
Yeah.
If you don't know that I'm a Bible believer, you probably don't follow me because I don't make it a secret, right? No. I'm not hiding my belief. I'm not saying that you have to believe what I believe. You can believe whatever you want. I know why I believe what I believe, and I'm not ashamed of what I believe. Okay.
Yeah.
But people were able to watch the struggle, and they were able to see my wife and to see my daughter and to see, we're human beings. And I didn't sugarcoat stuff. No. I didn't always put up all the negative. Like, I wasn't out there looking for sympathy and things like that. But, I almost never shared it on LinkedIn. Some of my friends from Facebook knew what was going on, and so they started asking me about it on LinkedIn. And so that's how the story started to come out. And then I would get bombarded daily in my messages about it. So then I said, okay, well, let me maybe like once a week or once every 2 weeks or something, make a post, because there's positives and negatives to everything. So then I started to get the other people going, hey, you're just trying to milk this thing to grow your following. I'm like, that's the dumbest thing anybody was ever said to me, but okay, I get it. Right. So I did have to kind of counterbalance this a little bit and go, okay, I want to keep this, I did put out a GoFundMe. I didn't for over a year, but honestly, at the point I put out the GoFundMe, that RTMS treatment, the treatment was going to be $41,000. And the doctor, because he's a private practice, he told us, he said, look, if you will pay us a lump sum cash up front, there's no risk for me, I'll give it to you for $19,000. And now, one of the things that we learn in the Bible is to try to be good stewards of our resources. I didn't have $19,000, but for the last year, I had people saying, hey, if you ever need help, I would love to donate to a GoFundMe. And I thought, well, here's an opportunity to take advantage of this huge discount and be a good steward of things and allow people the benefit, if they want, to participate in that. So we put out a GoFundMe. We didn't hit the 19,000. We got to 13,000 something, and that's fine. It was $13,000 that I didn't have to come up with, and we had the extra 6, so we were able to take advantage of the discount. And so, for a lot of reasons, this was a huge blessing. Again, it allowed people to see my faith. I've had so many people say, thank you for sharing, because it does encourage me to keep going in my own. And that's the thing that I tell people, like, yes, you keep saying it, but God, it's not just cliche.
No.
Your challenge, whoever you are listening, wherever you're listening, whatever it is that you're battling, the same God that helped me and my family get through this can absolutely help you get through yours. Whatever it is, it's going to look probably completely different than mine. But the God of the universe, he created everything. He's the Alpha and the Omega. There's nothing too big for him. He's in control of everything, including the devil. That's what people don't understand. Like, go back and read the book of Job. So clearly it tells you, if you read just chapter 1 and 2 of Job, that's all you really need to get this point about the devil is not what everybody thinks the devil is. The devil is still under the authority of God.
Yes.
Does God allow bad things to happen? Yes, he sure does. But you know why? Because he hates sin. He's a holy God. I mean, we could get into it, but I don't want to drive people away from your
Oh,
channel, so I'll stop there.
no,
But
that's
but
good.
I believe this 100%, right? So
Yeah. And I will tell you, we all go through struggles in life. If you're
all of
watching
us,
this,
all of
you
us.
need to know that. Like, even Ira and I are here sitting in these chairs, being on screen, speaking to you, but we're still human beings. And we still go through our own struggles.
Can I tell you? I want to tell you all something. I wrote a song when I was 14, maybe I was 15, somewhere in there. 14 or 15. The name of the song, the title of the song is I Am Not an Animal. If you think that Ira is always positive and upbeat and never depressed or never struggles internally with, thoughts of depression or whatever, you don't know me. Because I will tell you that I wrote that song because, after being molested as a child and after being homeless and growing up poor and some of the things that I went through, I felt like people treated me like an animal. So I get this probably more than most people understand. Life is definitely messy. Life is messy. We're not here to be perfect. We're here to understand that we can't be perfect and we need a savior. Again, I'm getting off topic. I don't want to drive your people away. So,
No, that's fine. But something that has, become very apparent to me over the last few months, and I've also been through some things, and something that's really become apparent to me is that he's the same God that he's
oh
always
yes,
been,
never changed.
and he's no respecter of person. What he can do for you, what he can do for others, he can do for me too.
So it makes the Bible so interesting if you think about it, even if you don't believe it, but you think about what it wrote about Jesus when he was born. He wasn't born into a palace. He was born into, people say manger and they think this cute little, scene. But anyways, he was born into poverty is really the point. They were poor as poor could be. And Bethlehem, in case those of you don't understand world history, Bethlehem was like the least city. It wasn't even a city, it was a town. It was a small little podunk town. And Jerusalem, not Jerusalem, but Israel was like a nothing. They had no military power, right? They were owned by, they weren't even in control of themselves. They were Roman controlled. If he doesn't respect himself enough to put himself in a place of comfort and ease, why would he do that for you? Why would he do that for me? Right? He's never been a respecter of people. If you go back and study, again, just in the Bible, all the biblical folks that he brought up, look at their lineage. They're from the lowest tribe of all the people on all the earth. And the reason why he did that is because he wants the glory. He wants you to worship him. It isn't about the people, right? He wants the people to do his will. He wants the people to worship him. It's the only thing God can't do for himself is worship himself.
Mm.
So
Amen. Amen. So, Ira, when you were a kid, who was your role model and why?
When I was a kid, my role model, I mean, if I'm being completely honest, Hulk Hogan was one of them. Brother! Hulk Hogan was amazing. I loved Superman. As far as political figures, I grew up, in the early 80s. Ronald Reagan was a huge positive influence on me. Arnold Schwarzenegger, back when it was Say No to Drugs, and we had the fitness plan with Ronald Reagan in the United States. Arnold Schwarzenegger at that point was just a bodybuilder, but he was the buffest dude on the planet. And, I respected that. I grew up an athlete. So, those are, as a kid, those are the people that I respected. Now, as I got a little bit into my late teens and into college, Zig Ziglar became a huge role model for me, still is, even though he's no longer with us. I own every single book that Ziglar has ever put out. I've got them all here. Had the privilege of working with Ziglar on LinkedIn, running or helping to run, I should say. That's the more correct way to say it, helping to run their their LinkedIn business page. That was an amazing honor.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so before I got into live streaming, I was invited to be on somebody's show. And it took me a long time to accept that invitation. Because you know me from back in the day when I would show up to a meeting like this.
Yep. This is how I met Ingor. Do that again. This is the Ingor that I got to know and love.
This was me. I would find any old excuse not to be on camera. And anyway, when I accepted his invitation, I think it must have taken me about 2 months or so, thinking back and forth and like, do I really want to do this? No.
Yeah.
But in any case, he gave me the set of questions that he would ask me on the interview. And one of the questions that stumped me is something that I love to ask my guests now.
Let's do it.
And the reason is because it really made me think, and I needed to think and really think about this. So, and that question is, what is your life statement?
So I will tell you what it's been for quite a while, and life is too short to be selfish is the answer that I would give. And it's almost become cliche. So I don't know if it's enough, if it embodies enough. But I will tell you this, if you give me a little bit of time, I could probably come up with some eloquent way to phrase it. But it's going to have to include that word that we talked about in the beginning, which is positive impact. So I will tell you what I'm trying to do every single day. I am trying to support as many people as I can as they chase their goals, as I pursue my own. I just made my Facebook post today. Now, I know we're not live today. This is being rebroadcast because of you're on vacation. But my post today, which is actually January 12th, if you want to go to my Facebook page, it says this. It says, I'm rooting for you. Kick butt and win, because we're not in a competition. I think that too many people are viewing other people's success as somehow a slight against themselves.
Yeah.
When in reality, we're in this thing called life together, and you're running your race and I'm running my race. And I had somebody, this is a sad but true statement. So I ran a show for 2 years. I might bring it back. It's on hiatus right now. It's called Marketing Mondays with Ira Bowman. Very popular show on LinkedIn Live. I ran it on YouTube and Facebook. Them put the episodes on my website after at bowmandigitalmedia.com. I would put them on, right? But what I was doing for 2 years is I would invite agency owners or people who worked for marketing firms and bring them on in front of my 200,000 LinkedIn followers and introduce them. Now, this is my competition, right? I mean, if you think about it, it's my competition. Yeah. But I don't think about it in that way because there's so many people out there who need help. I can't help them all anyways. I'm not necessarily the best person to help everybody, right? I'll be the first one to tell you it's not a good fit. And that shocks people when I say it. But trust me, if I say it, it's not a good fit. And I will help you find somebody who is a better fit for you. Yeah. So I was talking to somebody, and this particular lady works in course development. So, she's working with coaches and authors and people like that. And they're writing material that they want to have as a course. And, so anyways, she called me because she wanted SEO services. And so I'm explaining what SEO services is. And then, she's like, well, what else does your company do? And I started telling her about the social media management that we offered. She goes, oh, I can't use you. We're in competition. And I'm like, I've never heard of you before. No offense. And I don't know that you've heard of me before. You obviously didn't know that I did social media marketing, right? So I don't know what the problem is. I have plenty of marketing companies who hire us. In the business, we call it white label, okay? So there are other marketing firms who hire me to do things. And guess what? There are other marketing firms that I hire to do things for me too. Like, oh my gosh, this is actually a relatively normal process, okay?
Yes.
In printing, no company can print everything. You sub out stuff all the time. You have the relationship with the customer, you have a project manager and everybody else. You just get it done however you need to get it done. As long as you give them what they need, when they need it, for the price they needed it for, the quality and all that stuff, everybody's happy. Okay.
Yes.
So anyways, this lady cut it short because of that. And I was like, how short-sighted.
Yeah.
Like, we've never in our whole history probably have ever even quoted the same person. Anyway, you know what I mean? But I don't look at life that way. To me, it catches me off guard. Like, I can root for you. I don't care if you're in marketing or if you're an engineer or like, one of our mutual friends, Angela Thurman, she runs a PMP, project management company. Like, I root for all of them. I root for everybody. I even root for people I don't like because I think, well, maybe if they get some victories, they'll be nicer.
Yeah.
What I mean? So if you're asking me, that's what I'm really trying to do. Now, how I could phrase it in one beautiful sentence, I would need some time, but that's the spirit or the thought behind, my life sentence, what it would be.
I love that.
It's got to include impacting and cheering others on.
Yeah.
Because, honestly, to be successful in social media, a lot of people are making this mistake. This will help you guys out. Stop telling people how awesome you are and start telling people how awesome they are.
Right.
Be an encouragement to them.
Yes.
Comment on their posts, whether they comment on yours or not. In life, Ziegler said it this way, and I love Ziegler. We already talked about this. He said it like this. If you want something in life, all you've got to do is help enough other people get what they want. They'll help you get what you want. Even if it's not, they're going to hire you. Sometimes it's a referral they're going to make, or they're going to share your post, or, it's just, now, again, we'll talk about it from a different perspective. Some people call this karma. We call it reaping what you sow. It's the same thing. If you do enough good things, you're earning something. There is a thing called you reap what you sow. And anyways, don't be a jerk.
No. Interesting that you're speaking about reaping, because I was just going to display this quote, which is one of my favorites too, about networking, and it's about farming. That more than it is about hunting. It's about cultivating relationships.
100%. If you remember in the green room before we started on the show, I told you the main thing I'm doing now is developing relationships. That is the number one job that I have. Right now, the business, like we talk about, the business, I'm helping people increase their visibility online, and I'm leading a company that does that. But my main job is to create relationships, develop, cultivate, and keep them healthy, investing in them. Right? Like, if I don't reach out to you every once in a while and say hello, shame on me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's difficult, though. I will say it's difficult when you have so many people that you are connected to.
Yeah.
But it's even if you just send a little voice note saying, hello, I'm thinking of you. How are you doing?
So one of the things that I learned as I grew, and this is the thing people always ask me, like, what's the hardest part of going from obscurity to becoming an influencer on social media? When you start getting hundreds of thousands of followers, and I have 500,000 followers online. Okay, so I have a few, right?
Yes, a few.
But you don't go from 0 to 500,000 overnight.
No.
It's a process. You build. It's not always slow. There was a point where I was adding 1,000 a day. Okay. One of the things that you learn so that you keep growing, or the thing will fizzle out, and actually the people who used to cheer for you will actually start to resent you if you don't learn how to do this. Okay. You can't be a taker only. There has to be give and take in life, or they start to feel like, well, I'm always supporting their posts. How come they never support mine, or whatever it is. Right. And people have their own equations. I actually get messages about this quite regularly, and I have to apologize because what you said, there is a lot of people. But what I started to do is I started to go, okay, these are my inner circle folks. These are my core folks. These are my community folks. And the ones that are inside the core, I have bookmarked their pages on LinkedIn or Instagram or wherever it is that we communicate, because I have followers on multiple platforms. so that I can go and support their content easier. I don't wait for the algorithm to show me anything. I don't scroll feeds the way most people do. I never do that. You will never see me going through and scrolling unless I'm making a video on why I don't do it. Then I show people, what to do. But I bookmark everything because you have to learn systems. You have to get better at this. And the other thing is, a lot of times when people get to my level, they start to employ, some type of secretary assistance, a virtual assistant, or, it doesn't have to be virtual. It can be somebody who actually helps, with, and secretaries have been doing this for forever. This is actually not a new thing.
No, it's not.
How many years have, a boss said to their secretary, hey, go type this letter to so-and-so for me, or, they put out Christmas cards and birthday cards and stuff. People even, but their kids and their spouses get presents that were bought by some assistant. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't new. I don't know why everybody gets all excited about virtual assistants like it's some crazy new concept. Solomon said it in Proverbs. Actually, he said it in the Book of Songs. Yeah, I think so. Anyways, he says there's nothing new under the sun. You can Google it if you want the reference. But anyways, and that was 2,000 years ago, right? There's nothing new, right? How we do it is maybe new, but what we're doing is, entertaining ourselves, whatever. So there you go. If you need help, then you need help. But if you don't do it some way or the other, it will start to bite you in the butt. Be careful what you wish for is, I guess, my caution here. Because as you grow, everybody sees the benefits, but they've never had the headaches. Being a millionaire isn't all it's cracked up to be either. Like, people are, I'd love to have those problems. Well, you just say that because you've never had them. Mo money, mo problems is not, it's a saying for a reason. Mike O'Connor, one of my, my social media buddies, says it this way. Most of these sayings are sayings for a reason, right? And mo money, mo problems may not be grammatically correct, but you guys hopefully get the drift. Like, it is headaches. Are they good headaches? Sometimes. But how do you like it? Every person you ever meet who's always got their hand out, and you never know if they actually like you or they only like you because what you give them. Because I will tell you that a lot of times I feel that way. People reach out to me every hour of every day saying, can you support this post? Can you share this post for me? And I'm like, okay, so is that all I am to you? I'm a way to boost your post. I'm telling you, every hour of every day, sometimes 15 times an hour. I mean, there are hours where I only get hit it once, but every single hour on the hour, every day for the last 2 years, somebody has sent me a message saying, hey, can you support this post? Can you share this? Can you blow this up? I have family members who I haven't talked to for years, for whatever reason, who do that to me. And I'm like, man, how's your daughter doing? That would have been maybe a better way to start that conversation.
Right.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. And I think people don't realize, honestly, even if I had, let's say, 1,000 connections and followers, that's already a lot.
It really is when you think about it. Because how many of you have 1,000 friends? I don't. I have 500,000 followers or connections, the subscribers. They call them different things on different platforms, right? I have 500,000 in total. It's a little bit over that, but whatever. Okay. So I don't know most of them.
Yes.
That's why I say community.
Yes.
I can't support 500,000 people no matter how hard I try.
No.
But the core, I'll tell you on LinkedIn, it's just over 50 people. It's not the only one. I actually spend more time on Instagram, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I personally spend more time on Instagram now than I do on LinkedIn. But, each platform, I have a certain amount of people, and it wasn't, dictated by a number. It was, these are the people that engage with me all the time. These are my friends.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure that my friends don't think that I'm just a taker.
Yeah.
That's part of the impact I want to leave behind. Yeah. Legacy is a word that we used to use.
Yes. I think about my legacy often. Yeah. What do I want to leave behind, or what do I want people to think of me once I'm gone?
Ingor, we could say it another way too. And you and I both know this. There are going to be times when you're struggling and you're going to need that help. So if you are at a time where you're not struggling and you're paying it forward, you're investing in other people, when things change, because they will, and the roller coaster of life happens and you're just in a down spot, more people will be willing to help you at those moments if you've invested and paid it forward, because that's what happened to me. That is exactly what happened to me when I started to struggle with my daughter. I'm telling you, I was getting badgered by a few folks demanding that I create this GoFundMe page. And it went against every sense of pride in my fiber of my being to ask for help. I had some people mocking me because up until that point, I had actually was talking about potentially buying a business to expand my portfolio, which is a smart thing to do, diversify and have passive income. So I was looking at that, and I'm still looking at that. I haven't done it yet. But they're like, well, how can you afford to buy a business and still need help? And I'm like, well, I was going to borrow against my assets, right? I wasn't going to take cash from my checking account. I was going to take money out of my house, basically, right? And again, not everybody understands how money works. I totally get it, right? But more money, more problems.
But I'm so flabbergasted that you actually have to say that to people. Like, really? Wow.
I had some good friends, actually. They're not so good friends anymore, but yeah, I had some people in my community that were doing that. Jeez. You know, because again, I think people, they might get the wrong idea about what an influencer is. You know, I mean, I am not a millionaire. I didn't grow up rich. I grew up very poor, extremely poor. In fact, like I said, for part of my life, I was actually homeless. I've slept outside on the street on the cement. I can tell you what that's like. It was a lot of fun, let me tell you. I think people get the wrong idea. You know, you're a business owner. You got these glasses. You know, it's funny. These glasses are so cheap. Everybody thinks they're like, you know, some designer thing. I buy these glasses for $56, folks, online. They're bifocals even. I can buy singles vision for $20 to $30. I buy them from Zenny.com. If you want to buy them, I've been using them for over 10 years. Great company, cheap. It takes me about a week and a half to get glasses, but you know, $56. It's the bifocals, it's the frames, it's the lenses, it's the shipping, it's everything. Wow. I don't spend a lot of money on most things. Somebody was asking me one time on an interview, so, you know, you live in LA, you know, you're a business owner, do you drive a BMW or a Mercedes? And I'm like, I drive a 2013 Kia Optima that I've long since paid off. And my other car is a Chevy Express, full-size minivan, van, because, you know, I have 8 kids. Yeah. I don't fit the mold of what people think of when they think of these things, right? Like I never set out to be a quote unquote influencer. In fact, I refused to use that word for the longest time. I embraced it only because I realized that an influencer can actually be positive.
Yes.
But I don't, you know, so I know that people make a lot of stereotypes out there and assumptions that I promise you, my life probably doesn't look like what any of you think it does. If my wife and I were to ever put out a show, I think people would be surprised and very entertained, but for different reasons. And I think, again, what people would find out very quickly is Ira's not the superstar of the house. His wife is definitely the star of the show. Ira's a, you know, second tier character in the show.
Oh my gosh. It's so interesting to me to listen to what you're saying, because I always say this, right? Social media is but a window to what your life is.
Yeah. And we try to be as transparent. Yeah. But we try to be as transparent as we can. You know, but it's funny because even my wife and my kids sometimes, you know, they're like, what do you mean by that? You know what I mean? Like, it's hard because sometimes your character limited or there's context that's missing.
Yes.
So, I mean, you guys have to remember, I'm a graphics guy. That's the core of me, right? Well, some people might say I'm a sales guy at the core, but whatever. Okay. I'm in the graphics space. Let me tell you to never, ever, ever, never trust a photo, especially of a woman. I'm just being completely honest. Because, I mean, you could filter it to the maximum and they're still not happy with it. I used to think people didn't like my photography, but then I realized they just don't like the way they look. It's not my photography. It's they don't like their own self-image. But even videos that we put out, everything's airbrushed. Everything is photoshopped. Everything is crafted to create a specific image. And none of it is real. One of my good friends, she's become a good friend over the last couple of years, tips from, well, shoot. I don't want to say what I was about to say because I just identified. I should have said it. Let me just say it this way. There are people when you meet them and you go, oh, you think you know what they look like because you see them all the time. And then you see them and you're like, whoa, right? Like the biggest compliment I get from people is when they meet me in real life and they go, well, you're just like you are on, however they know me, social media, LinkedIn Live, YouTube, whatever. And I go, thank you. I'm trying to be as real as possible. Now, also, I'm trying to, shine God's light. And so, yeah, I don't talk about, how I get angry all the time or, frustrated or, look, if you never watched an episode of 8 is Enough, y'all know I have plenty of imperfections. My wife happens to be sitting right there right now. And she would gladly come on the show if she was camera ready, which she isn't. But if she was, she would come on here and she would tell you a few just to, keep me humble. But, so I'm not trying to say that I share all my warts, but I try to share enough of them so that people can get the idea here that I don't want people to worship Ira and idolize Ira because I'm not worthy of worship or idolization.
No, I love that. And a running joke in my house is about the dating world that people are going through right now. And we laugh about it. But I have a cousin who was obsessed with feet. Yes, she was just about feet. Like you have to have
a foot fetish.
Yes.
My wife and I would both be in trouble. We wouldn't have been able to date each other if that was true for us.
Oh my God.
My wife just said she has beautiful feet. And to quote a famous movie, denial.
And I'll tell you, Ira, you know what she did before, like she met her husband. The first time she met her husband, the first thing she did with him was take him to the beach.
Oh, to see his feet. No, yes. She could have went shoe shopping, but I guess that was, I don't know. Yeah, it's so funny. I don't even want to know what it would be like to be in the dating scene today. Oh, I've been with my wife over half my life now, right? So over half my life we've been together. I don't ever want to go back.
Yeah, I know. Like when I hear people's stories, I say, "Oh, thank God I'm married." Thank God, really. Like
only by the grace of God am I still married, and I'm married to the one that He made for me without a question.
Amen.
She might not be happy about it, but I am. I can't see. I'm looking at the back of her head. I was trying to see if it's on or not.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's wrap up. But I had some questions about networking.
Yeah, go ahead.
You sort of answered them actually. So one of the questions was, what is your take? Like how do you approach it? And I wanted to speak specifically about LinkedIn, but you already expressed how you do it, where you bookmark people's pages and you go and support their content that way.
Well, I do have a simple formula for everybody. Okay. This will work actually on any network. So if LinkedIn's not your favorite flavor and you want to go to Instagram or Twitter or whatever, you can do this anywhere. The biggest mistake people are making is they're trying to become content creators. Okay. And I'm not saying that you don't ever need to make any content, but I'm saying this. 80% of your effort. So if you're going to be on for an hour, then over 45 minutes of your time should be on commenting on people's posts and responding to comments on your posts. So engaging with people in comment section, as opposed to trying to become the next whoever your favorite content creator is. Hopefully it's Ira Bowman, but whoever it is, right? So you don't need to go out and learn how to master Canva or Photoshop or Illustrator or, I'm trying to think of the videos. Oh my gosh, my brain just froze on me. Okay. You don't need to become a videographer, famous photographer, all this stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that you can't do any of that stuff and it isn't interesting. If you do, that's great. But the fact is, think about it this way. How do you feel when other people comment on your post? Does it make you feel good? If it does, you just figured out the secret to life. If I want to make friends with somebody, I don't need to tell them how wonderful I am. I can show them how wonderful I am by being different. if I show up on your posts every other day or, twice a week, where does that put me in your priority list? It should put me pretty high.
Yeah.
Now, let me tell you this. You threw out a number earlier. You said 1,000, which is more than the average on some platforms, a little less on others. But if you have 1,000 followers, let's say you have 10,000 followers. I don't care. Let's say you have 10,000 followers. You make a post. How many of those 10,000 actually see it? The answer is less than 1%. That's the answer. Okay. Less than 1%. So you're talking about 100 people. You have a banner post and it gets seen by 10%. That's a good post. That's 1,000 people. Okay. Now instead, imagine this. You find a couple friends who have maybe 100,000 followers, 200,000 followers, 500,000 followers, 1 million followers, and you go and you make a comment on their post every day. How many people do you think see those comments? A lot more than 100. I'm going to tell you it's going to be a lot more than 1,000, especially if you do this. Don't just say great post, good share, blah, blah, blah. That's a waste of time, okay? That doesn't do anything for anybody. It doesn't make the person happy. It doesn't really help anything.
No.
But if you just take 15 seconds to 60 seconds and actually read their post and then make a value-added comment, talk about something they're talking about. Or if they're talking about SEO and it's really, really, it's analytical, it's out of your wheelhouse, right? You're like, I don't know anything about this. This is complicated. And, they're talking about science. Like maybe somebody's talking about cancer and I don't know anything about cancer. Okay. You can do this. You can compliment the person. You can ask them a question like, hey, how are you all doing today? Are you having a good week? A question about them, talk about them. Or the third thing, so you either do a value-added question or a value-added comment. You do a question to the person, like you're just talking to them. Forget the post content because it's over my head. It's technical, right? The third thing that you can do is you can engage with somebody else inside the comment.
Yeah.
Because what I think people should do is try to find on LinkedIn now your third level or third plus level connection and talk with them, because this might be their only opportunity to ever see and communicate with that person. And you could even just ask them a simple question like, hey, are you open to a new connection? Are you open to a new follower? Hey, what do you do for a living? How do you know so-and-so? I mean, there's all kinds of ways. But don't sell them something. Don't spam them in the comments saying, hey, would you like to buy, my SEO service? It's on sale this month. Hey, did you know that I'm giving away December for free if you sign up for a year in January? Like, don't do that, because you wouldn't do that to a normal person you met, right? Like, treat social media as an extension of real life and be a giver, not a taker. And that's how you grow. So again, just to bring this all home, so many people are focusing on how can I be the next I want to go viral creator? And that's a mistake. Instead, you want to build relationships. Be friendly. Make it about them. It's their favorite topic. I'm not even kidding. Most people, the best thing they want to talk about is themselves. So you're going to give them what they want. You're going to make them feel good. You're going to increase your visibility. And you don't have to worry and stress out about, how am I going to take this all-inspiring, never-seen-before photograph or video and make it be seen by 1 million people, because it's just not realistic for most of you. Yeah. And then let me anybody watching, if you've ever gone to Las Vegas or a place where you can gamble, the worst thing that could ever happen to you is you put in that first dollar, that first coin or first credit, because it's not a quarter anymore, but whatever it is, and hit the jackpot. You know why that's bad? Because you're hooked for life, and you will waste more money chasing that dopamine experience, and it's just not sustainable. And it's the same thing on social media. I get asked every day how to make content go viral. And I say, first of all, there is no formula for that, because if there was, somebody would have figured it out and everybody would have it by now. Yeah. There is no single formula for going. I can tell you things that will increase your chance of going viral, right? But I'm going to tell you one thing that definitely will help you: building your network with real people, with real relationships, where they feel like, even if it's not true, they feel like you actually give a crap about them. Even a little bit. Even a little bit. They will go to the ends of the earth to help people that they think care about them. So if you want to grow on social media, LinkedIn especially, make more comments and spend some time making a quality comment. Don't be afraid to ask open-ended questions because it encourages an engagement, and it doesn't necessarily have to be from the person you asked it. Because I'm going to tell you what, I love Simon Sinek. You're talking about people who inspire me. Simon Sinek's one of those guys. He's very smart. He puts out intellectual thoughts that I just think, God, he's so smart. Mm-hmm. So I look to Simon Sinek for ideas, and I follow his content, right? But Simon Sinek has never once responded to a single comment that I've made. And I got to tell you, I make some pretty good comments because I'm not saying great share, buddy.
Yeah, right.
Right? You know what I mean? But I have had 100 comment replies in a chain to my comments on Simon Sinek and Gary Vee, same thing. Different guy, different personality, different information, but same respect for their intellectual property, right? I've never had Gary Vee respond to me either. But again, I've had hundreds of people respond to my original comment. And what does that do? Let me tell you what that does. You can sort your comments by recent or by relevant. And when you get a top comment that's relevant on a person that has 5 or 6 million followers, that alone can be seen by 100,000 people in one day. And you can see how many connection requests you get that day.
Love it.
You'll grow much faster being a giver than you ever will trying to be the next big thing.
Yes. Yes. So much yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ara.
Welcome.
And I think that's a great way to wrap up.
Be a giver, not a taker. Let's go.
Yes. Be a giver, not a taker. Where can people find you, Ara?
I'm easy. You can go to irabowman.com. That's just my name to see my photography work. You can go to Bowman Digital Media to see the social media and search engine optimization work that we offer for businesses. You can go to Project Help You Grow. You flashed that earlier in the comment or in the bottom of the screen. That's if you need help finding a job. I'm on LinkedIn, Ira Bowman. I'm on Instagram, Ira M Bowman. But if you put in Ira Bowman, you'll find me. Because I'm good at this space. If you just Google me, you'll see me. Now, what's kind of a fun fact: the coach of the Auburn basketball team, his name is also Ira Bowman, and he played in the NBA. So if you see a big black guy, it's the other one. And if you see a short, bald guy with buck teeth and white glasses, that's me.
Oh, my gosh.
There you go. We split the first page of Google, and then from there, it's mostly just me. But anyways, yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much for being here and availing yourself to...
and I hope you're having a fantastic time in South Africa. It's so nice of you to take this break and interview me while you're on vacation. I'm just kidding. Oh my God. We recorded this early, but she is having a heck of a time, I'm sure.
I'm sure I will. Thank you, Ira. I'm going to send you back to the green room, and I'll be with you shortly.
Bye, everybody. Have a great day.
And if you're still watching, thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in. And let me just remind you of one thing before we wrap this up. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. Thank you for being here. It is my privilege and honor to know this gentleman that I just interviewed. And if you're not following him yet, do that. You won't be sorry. He puts out amazing content. And he is one of those giving hearts, which is why we're friends. So until next time, thank you so much. Take care and be blessed. I'll see you soon for another episode of Inspiration from Ingor. Ciao for now.